something that hasn't happened since 2000, actually hasn't happened since before 2000, hasn't happened going back to what I have data for, is as far back as we can go here. The Swiss franc making historical new highs against US dollar, Japanese yen, and euro. And first off, looking at the chart of USD versus Swiss franc, traded under 86 cents here in July for the first time, not only all year, but looking historically here, the first time since the early part of 2015. What was happening in that time frame? The Swiss franc was depegging from the euro, which sent Swiss franc into one of the strongest rallies that it saw against most major currencies in many, many years. And as you can see, was pretty short-lived, lasted about a month or two. This is a monthly chart. And right now, right at those extremes, around 86, 85 cents, like we saw in 2015. And we'll see how long this Swiss franc rally, this strength, lasts this time around. As we've already been here for a few weeks, a month or so, these lows in US dollar versus Swiss franc, similar story with the euro. But I also wanted to point out even greater extremes that we're seeing in the yen versus Swiss franc, as there's no story in particular that's driving the Swiss franc higher. There's not something that I can find, at least, going on in Switzerland or the Swiss National Bank or politically, geopolitically, what have you. It just seems to be a safe haven currency rally of sorts, whereby this time around, the Swiss franc, and quickly to categorize safe haven currencies, historically have been Swiss franc, Japanese yen, US dollar. This time around, the Swiss franc is really the safe haven of the safe haven, so to speak, to the point where it's above 160 against the Japanese yen. You can see that's in the last year been the high as of earlier today, trading around 163. And you go back to the 2010s. I went back as far as I had data for here, which was, I believe, 1998, data supplied by IG. And that's a lot of data, my friends. That's 25 years worth of data here, and couldn't find a data point whereby the Swiss franc was higher than it is now against the Japanese yen in this recorded history. I mean, of course, I don't want to speculate on this is the highest it's ever been because I don't have forex data going back to the 90s, 80s, and so on. But this is all to say, quite historical extreme here for the Swiss franc against US dollar, against yen. These major currency markets. And you'll see what's particularly interesting about this is, and it kind of, funny enough, works against the whole premise of this story, and why you might be saying to yourself, Frank, why the hell are you talking to me about Swiss franc to begin with? It's not necessarily a major economy. And it is, for the Forex traders out there, considered one of the more boring currencies. It's historically not as volatile as an Australian dollar might be. But that makes the story, to me at least, even more interesting. This is a market that, especially look at its historical range against the US dollar, against the euro, and you'll see it in, on an annual basis, a 800 pip range, 600 pip range, whereas the annual range for US dollar versus euro, for example, might be 1,000 pips, 1,200 pip range. But the fact that a historically less volatile currency is making headlines in terms of its extremes against these other currencies really goes to show that something interesting is going on here. And we'll see if 150, 160, these historically rare price levels become the new norm for a Swiss franc yen, or similarly for dollar franc over here, 85, 86, 87, 88, that range becomes the new normal. Or if there's a reversion back to where this spread has been on average, closer to, 90, 95 cents. I mean, it was just a year ago that the dollar was at parity against the Swiss franc, now down at 86 and change. So a really interesting extreme, and what will be a really interesting development. I know I'll be watching to see whether we get that reversion back to normal, or we get this new normal here. You could see, obviously, in 2015, didn't stick around these prices for that long. But we're not even too far removed from breaking parity between the US dollar and the euro last year. And we were there for, a few weeks, but reverted back to now trading north of 110. We'll see what happens here. This is a really interesting one. And just to conclude, look at the sentiment among IG traders in the USD Swiss franc market. And we're seeing, overwhelmingly long dollar, short Swiss franc at this moment in time, as traders are on the short side of the Swiss franc rally, so to speak, trading against the extreme 88% long USD in this pair. But of course, we'll see what happens. This sentiment has been edging in this direction since the Swiss franc got to 88 cents and 87 cents and now 86 cents. So obviously anything possible, but sentiment on the long side of the dollar at the moment.